Ed Trust in Washington, D.C., and is a researcher at the University of Maryland. She started as a student affairs administrator and admissions counselor at the University of Maryland, Baltimore County. Clearly, she has a very comprehensive view of post-secondary education systems. Dr. Howard holds degrees from Howard University, the Harvard Graduate School of Education, and her PhD is in higher education policy from the University of Maryland, College Park. In 2015, she was honored for her outstanding success and national distinction in the fields of education and policy with Howard University's Distinguished Alumni Achievement Award. The Graduate Network and Kentucky Council on Post-Secondary Education would like to thank the Lumina Foundation for supporting the Kentucky Adult Promise Project and their commitment over the years to many similar efforts in Kentucky and across the country. It is my deep honor to welcome Danette.
Alrighty, good afternoon, everyone. It's a real pleasure to be here, and I've enjoyed the discussion that we've had so far this morning. So, as we think about the importance of ensuring that returning adults are a first thought and not an afterthought in terms of our efforts to increase credential completion and statewide attainment, and when we're at these kinds of conferences and meetings that are singularly focused on this important issue, it's almost hard to recall that it wasn't that long ago when you could come into a room like this at a higher education conference like this one, and the topic of completion generally, not even for adults specifically, was not a focal point of the agenda. How many of you remember those days? Even in the early 2000s, it was common to have conversations about strengthening higher education policy and practice that focused on broadening access and increasing opportunity without a related discussion about increasing the number of students who actually make it across the graduation stage. So in 2008, Lumina Foundation established an attainment goal that was developed to help the nation meet its talent needs by increasing the number of individuals with high-quality post-secondary credentials and to allow people to lead more thriving lives by having the credentials we know are necessary to thrive in today's workforce. The goal itself called for 60% of individuals to have high-quality credentials that are valued in the labor market and also provide a pathway to additional educational opportunities by the year 2025. So I'm sure that some of you in this room remember when this goal was set. Let me see again by another show of hands. Way back in 2008. And I remember thinking, well, it's only 2008. We've got a long time until 2025. And now here we are on the cusp of 2025. And we need to take a look at how much progress we've made and how much more we have yet to accomplish. Today, some version of this goal has been adopted by other foundations, by colleges and universities, and by many cities, communities, and regions. So we like to say that this is no longer Lumina's goal, but it's the nation's goal. In fact, 42 other states now join your state, Kentucky, in having quantifiable, codified attainment goals that address their state-specific needs and, importantly, include language about closing gaps in credential attainment that separate Black, Latino, and Native American students from other. And that, in and of itself, is a significant feat because back in 2008, 2009, there were about 10 states that had these statewide goals, and now we're at 43. There are also now organizations that are exclusively devoted to this cause of increasing completion and attainment. You know them. Achieving the Dream and Complete College America are among the national organizations. And there are also a host of state-level entities throughout the country that are committed to this important work. So what have we achieved over the last decade or so? The good news is we've made real progress in increasing attainment over a not too long of a period of time. After decades of stagnation in our nation's overall post-secondary attainment rate, we've seen considerable increases, moving from an overall rate of just under 38% to now just under 48%. And when the new data, which include high-quality certifications, are released in a few months, we just might see that number tick up over 50%. So everybody keep your fingers crossed until the new data come out. This is a pretty big deal. And these increases represent over 12 million more people who now have bachelor's degrees, associate degrees, certificates, and certifications that are making a real difference in their own lives and in the lives of their families. And if we hit that 50% mark later this year, it also means we'll be in striking distance of reaching the 60% goal, something that just a decade or so ago would not have seemed probable. Now, since we're talking about progress, let's take a look at the Kentucky story, which in my opinion is even more inspiring than the national one. Over that same 9-year period, your attainment rate has increased even more dramatically than the country's attainment rate. You've increased by 15 percentage points. That takes a lot of hard work. It doesn't happen without intentionality. And I know we're here to talk about what more we have to do, but I think you all should just take a moment to celebrate what you've already done, because that's pretty amazing. So while all of this represents lots of good news, both across the country and here in Kentucky, we still have to contemplate who's being left out of our completion cohorts and our completion conversations, and from our student success strategies. When my colleagues and I at Lumina asked ourselves that question just a few years ago, the answer was very clear. We needed to ensure that more of our work was pointedly focused on increasing completion and attainment for students of color and for adult learners. We began targeting our communications efforts on highlighting who today's students actually are, because far too many policy decisions, institutional operations, and in fact, teaching and learning experiences themselves have not been designed with adult learners in mind. But as if most, if not all, college students look like the person that was in Mike's slide earlier today, no, you know that these students are right out of high school, that they're very young adults who are supported by their families, and who, if they work at all, are working part-time. We know, though, that the reality is that the profile of today's students is much more dynamic than that. And you can see here that there are many students who are parents themselves. Many students are struggling to make ends meet while also pursuing their post-secondary credentials. Nearly 40% of students across the nation are older than 25 years old. Many are working full-time. Nearly half are financially independent. Many are students of color. And actually, most students haven't saved a single dollar to put toward their post-secondary education. Now, it's important to keep the profile of today's students in mind, because Kentucky, like the rest of the country, has an incredible opportunity to better serve and support many of today's students by prioritizing post-secondary completion for adults. Now, according to a recent report by the National Student Clearinghouse, across the country, there are over 36 million adults with some college but no credential or degree. This means that there are over 36 million folks who started to pursue the higher education that they know that they needed to make a difference in their own lives, but for some reason or another, they weren't able to complete. Now, right here in Kentucky, that number is over 550,000. Over a 4-year period from 2014 to 2018, over 40,000 some college no degree students from Kentucky re-enrolled at a college or university right here in your state. And nearly 11,000 of those who re-enrolled have already completed their credentials. That's pretty fantastic. Now, this is a great start, worthy of applause, but can you imagine what would be possible if there were, across the board, robust financial, academic, and non-academic supports in place for returning adults? Or if course offerings were designed from their inception with these students in mind? If prior work and educational experiences were readily recognized and applied toward post-secondary credentials? How many more of the 550,000 Kentuckians, is that what you call yourselves, Kentuckians? Okay, good. How many more of the 550,000 Kentuckians with some college, no degree, could obtain their credentials if this mode of operating became the rule rather than the exception? That's what we're here to discuss a little more today. And in a moment, I'm going to be joined by the real experts, current adult learners who will share their firsthand accounts of what it's been like to return to college as an adult student. And they're also going to share how we all can ensure that more adults can successfully navigate their way through the post-secondary system toward the credentials that they know they need and that we all need them to have. So at this time, I'd like for you to join me in welcoming Jill, Michael, Brandon, and Crystal to the stage. You know, I'm sure that we've all been to these sorts of meetings and conferences about students, and we never hear from students. So it's always a thrill when I get to be in a room and to have a conversation with students so we can hear their firsthand accounts of what it's been like to try to navigate their way through this system. So I'd like to start by asking each of you to introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about the credential that you're pursuing or that you've just completed. And also, why don't you tell the audience what inspired or motivated you to return back to college as an adult student? Brandon?
Hey, how's everybody doing? Yes, my degree is computer information technology. I graduated in December with associates, and I'm continuing. And I'm currently pursuing my associates in arts, which I will obtain in May. I plan on attending Western Kentucky University once I graduate from JCTC. What inspired me to go back to college was I was out of options. So, you know, if I wanted a better life for myself, that's what I had to do.
Thanks, Brandon. Crystal?
Good afternoon. My name is Crystal White. I graduated this past May with my Associates in Arts and also my LPN diploma. Right. Thank you. I'm trying to apply to the RN program at JCTC. In the meantime, I am still taking classes, and I'm on my way to receive my third credential in African American Studies in May. So what motivated me to go back to school? I was working at a medical facility, and I saw the frustration of the patients that came in, frustrated with the healthcare system in general. And I wanted to be their change. I wanted to make a difference. I wanted them to be able to go to somebody that looked like them, that could help them navigate the system, and also help educate them with preventative measures. So instead of just talking about it, I wanted to be about it.
Awesome. Thank you, Crystal. Jill?
Hi, my name is Jill Angeli. I'm a recent graduate of Eastern Kentucky University in December 2018. Thank you. I graduated with my bachelor's in arts and science, but general studies, minor in painting, so I'm in the art field. And the reason I had went back is due to, like you said, jobs. I knew I wasn't going to attain that level of pay that I needed without it. So I knew I needed to do something. I also graduated from KCTC, Somerset Community Associates, went to Western, and then brought me to EKU. So, thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Mike?
How y'all doing? Mike Dames. I graduated in '87 with a associate's degree in electronics engineering technology. Had changed careers, gone back to school back in 1995 to go towards computer science. I had to stop because my daughter came along, and I already had 2 boys, and it was time to raise a family. So I put it off for 20 years, actually about 18 years, and went back to school. I'm studying now, and within about a year or so of graduation, information systems geared towards cybersecurity and computer science. What motivated me to do that? I had a 23-year career with Procter & Gamble. It was fantastic, and they treated me well. They offered me a early out for retirement, and I took it, and I felt I had to make myself marketable. So you may ask why at my age I would do that. Because the last years I have before I'm out of the workforce, I want to make them the best with my maximum possibility of making the maximum amount I can so my wife and I can retire well.
And Mike, you didn't share that little girl that you stopped out of college for is now attending the same college as you are at the same time at Northern Kentucky University. So that's awesome. It's a race to see who's going to graduate, he said. So, I know that it's not an easy decision for an adult to decide to get back into kind of post-secondary education and higher learning. And as you were contemplating this and making the decision, can you tell me a little bit about some of the primary challenges that you faced or what you had to juggle along the way to your credential? Brandon, you can start.
To me, my biggest barrier was I hadn't been in school for probably 20 years, so just having to go back and refresh my memory with all the things that I learned at a younger age and basically playing catch up. Financially, I didn't really have many financial barriers. I tell people all the time that since I've been at Jefferson, I haven't had a bad experience or nothing's really held me back. So on that aspect, I've been pretty blessed.
So all the people from Jefferson Technical and Community College in the room, use that quote in your promotional materials. That's awesome.
For me, I had to learn how to balance schoolwork and family. When I initially went back, the job that I was working for could not accommodate my school schedule, so I had to quit my job and seek out other resources so that I could continue to stay in school. Learning the best time for me to study, which I found out is early morning when everybody is asleep. And just, trying to figure out how to juggle and make it all work.
Yeah, mine's about the same situation. Mine was money, though, family. My kids were a little bit older, so that helped. I can imagine if they were young, that would be even harder. Getting around is not as easy when you get older either, things like that. But yeah, that's about it. Changing from working to, going to class and then being around the younger people, all the time. That was kind of a hurdle, but easy enough. parking, things like that. So, but other than that,
Things that I've run into, I agree with Brandon, going back and trying to settle your mind back to studies is not the easiest thing to do. I found a way, I think like, as we all do, we adapt and we do it. And I had sat down when I talked, or when I was thinking about going back, I sat down with my wife. We had a very long talk. She's been fantastic in this process. She knows that when the semester is going on, she takes over what she can do, but in the meantime, I still have to be dad and fix cars and cut the grass and be handyman around the house when I can get it in. But without her, I think this would be a whole lot tougher. She supports me knowing that it's going to work out the best for all of us.
So, Mike, you can hold on to that because I'm going to start with you for the next
Okay.
question. Sometimes when we think about adult learners, we tend to focus on or never move beyond some of the challenges and barriers that exist. But I know that with each of your stories, you're also very adamant about the support services and the help that you've received from your college or from your family. And so I'd like for you to talk a little bit about some of the resources or supports that have really helped you get to this point in terms of your pursuit of your degree. Mike, do you want to start because you
Sure.
mentioned the 8-week courses as one of them?
Yes. First of all, we at Northern have a set of advisors, and my advisor, I thought I saw her sitting there. She is Kim McCoy. She's helped me out quite a bit getting through the process.
That's
and
okay. You
getting
can clap for the advisors too. Look, during this panel, you are free to break out into thunderous applause at any time for any reason. So
She's been very patient with me in trying to get through this because I know we've done some different roundabout ways of doing things. One of the great things that we have there, I don't know if they do this at any of the other Kentucky universities, but the 8-week courses are fantastic. They're very intense. It allows me to get through 2 classes in one semester, whereas I think if I was taking those 2 classes in 16-week courses, it would be a little tougher just because you have to concentrate on 2 different subjects. In the 8-week course, you can just focus and you get right through it. You know it's going to be over quick, and usually I know I retain information a whole lot better that way. That's just me. So, I mean, there's been, I'm trying to think of what else. Of course, we have a very good information systems and computer science program now where we're at Northern. But I have not had really any other barriers from that standpoint. And it's been fantastic talking to a lot of the instructors also, because a lot of them, the night instructors, also have experience during the day. They come from jobs and they come and teach, and having that experience, you can go to them and say, hey, what do I need to do to start breaking into this field? Because that's one of the things I have brought up to our cybersecurity show that we have in October, was internships for the adults. And that's very important because when you get into that, I mean, I need an internship that's going to help pay my mortgage and my car payment and help my family and bills and stuff like that. I can't go with a smaller internship or a lower paying internship.
that's great. Thank you. Do you want to pass it down
Sure.
to others who want to comment on this?
okay, I'd love to because I've gotten tremendous help. So, first off, I want to thank everybody in here because it's helped me more, just not just my higher education, but in my life aspect tremendously. And I live in a college community town, and I work in another college community town, and it benefits the community tremendously. So that being said, so starting out with Somerset, at the time it was only a 2-year course, so I had to transfer out of there. That is not the case anymore, thank goodness. So people that live around that area can stay in that area and complete the 4-year. Western was tremendous too, but when I got to Eastern, I was brought in through the transfer department, and Lisa Cox was my counselor, and just tremendous. Definitely. And because of her, then it started me on this path of introducing me to other programs that I could get into. Because for me, it was low income, single parent, So, and I had no home, no money. So with that, I was able to get with a program that's called the Scholar House. There on campus, I was able to have a home with me and my son. And then through that, at the university, they had an employment service that helped with single parents. So through that, I was able to get employment while I attended school. And just it's just one thing after another, the help that it was, provided. And that was through the college and there on campus and so close. And it made such a difference, such a difference. So things like that, if you can continue to do that for us, is just amazing. So
That's great.
yeah, big
Thank you,
thank
Jill.
to everyone.
Crystal, do you want to comment on that one?
I do. Being here in Louisville, Louisville has a variety of services. You have to play a little bit of seek and find to find them, but they are there and they're available. I too am a current resident of Family Scholar House, and I also have utilized Mom's Closet. JCTC has a program, a Ready to Work program that I tapped into once I quit my full-time job. And also 15K, I'm a 15K ambassador, and 15K has provided an amazing network of mentors and just people within the community that want to help, and I can't say enough about it. So I'm from a small town, and I will tell you that if I was still living in my small town, I probably would not go back to school because the resources are not there. So being here in a city is a big advantage.
Thank you. Brandon?
So I've had a lot of mentors and a lot of resources, the same as Crystal, with 15,000 Degrees, Rise Together. If it hadn't been for that program, I doubt I would still be in college. So again, I'm going to echo, I haven't had any bad experiences. So a lot of people's been there to help me. Miss Sims, she's here. And Dr. Smith. So, yeah.
So I hope you can all tweet that he hasn't had any bad experiences. That's awesome. So Crystal and Brandon, you both mentioned that you're 15K Rise Together ambassadors. Can you talk a little bit about how your personal experience as an adult learner has helped you in your role as an ambassador, help with other students?
Yes, just being older, you have more experiences than the younger ladies and gentlemen. I just feel like that if I was younger at their age, I don't think I would have probably completed college. So, and I think with my experience, it helps a lot of the younger students. I like to help as much as I can, so, yeah.
That's great. Crystal?
One of the requirements of being an ambassador is to also serve as a mentor to the other students. And the students that come through 15K, some are first time, some are fresh out of high school, some are also adult learners. And I kind of tend to gravitate toward the adult learners simply because I'm there right now and I know how they feel. It's overwhelming, it's frustrating. It's extremely frustrating if you're not tech savvy. And, to go from pen and paper to Blackboard, I hate Blackboard, I hate it. But I use it because I have to. So just learning how to maneuver.
Great, thank you. So you can pass the mic right on over to Jill because I want to talk to you, Jill, about your decision to go on to complete your certificate, which you've already almost done at this point, even after you earned your bachelor's degree. So, you got the higher education bug, you got your associate degree, you went on to your bachelor's degree, and now you're getting a certificate on top of that. Tell me a little bit about that decision.
Yes, so the certificate will be in apparel design. I've sewed for years, so I can say I have experience sewing. But the courses that are offered through the university or it's knowledge that I don't know about, and it's a professional teaching me, and I just need that. And then also too, I think it just makes it's a difference when people see your accomplishments, that, look what I've obtained, by doing these courses. I don't just go and just sew, there's more to it behind this, So that's one of the reasons I'm going to continue. And then, of course, I'm still thinking of
People around me to help support me while I finish this process.
That's great.
with my children. Like I said, I was fortunate they are older. I feel that when I was attending school that I kind of was doing the role model for my son, Look, he sees me going to school every day, and hopefully that was encouraging him to continue too, so he can do well. And I believe it did. I mean, I think he was always so proud, it seemed, when I would make the dean's list, or I would do this, or, accomplish that. So, and then I was fortunate enough too that I was able to attend college with both my daughters. When my oldest is at Western, I spent the year with her there, and my youngest daughter is at Eastern currently, will graduate in the fall, so I spent the year with her also. So what an experience that was, tremendous. It was great. So.
Thank you. So you have a captive audience in this room, and it's filled with college presidents and other administrators, advisors, folks who are specializing and focusing in student success, maybe even some policymakers. What do you want all of these folks to know about the complex lives of adult students and how they might be able to help ensure that more returning adults are actually able to make it across the graduation stage?
So for me, that in my case, and if I think of others, we're on a different level than at that age, and you all know that. A lot of times we're the same age, or we're even older than our professors. So keep in mind that when we come in, we do have experience, and we do have previous, knowledge of school. We're not starting out fresh. So I guess the change of mindset and perspective, seeing it in a different way, that in itself would probably help a lot. And then the programs available, there's a lot we have to help our, kids getting out of high school, that they need to learn all this stuff, and we understand that, but then within our case, it's different that we need, like me, I needed housing or child care, or, they'll need, employment that would help, why they're doing this, that could pay for the rent, So it's a whole different set, and it's hard for, I guess, everybody to accommodate, that. We understand that, but yeah, anything helps.
Anybody else want to take that question?
Okay. Trying to think, there's several things I think that would be great. Having the adult-oriented classes is fantastic because I know I've sat in some of the classes where there have been mixed or a lot of younger kids, and nothing against the younger kids. I think they're fantastic, but sometimes I guess the class, you sort of feel like you're sitting around a bunch of young children. You are, but I don't mean it that way, but it's like, come on guys, let's get through class, let's stop, what's going on, and you don't want to try to ruffle any feathers, but that, and like I said, the 8-week courses are really good. I know when I first came back to school, started a process back in 2016, somebody had given me a phone number and I had called, not aware of who I was speaking to, and had explained, that I want to come back to school, this, and that, and the other thing. And they said, well, you got to get in with an advisor. You don't just, call here expecting that from us. And it's like, okay, I'm 15 years out from retirement. Does that help? And they were like, oh, okay, let me get you with the right people. It was a whole different mindset. The whole attitude changed and everything. And I got put in touch with the correct people. So I think that's fantastic, but I think it'd be great understanding, we're adults like us when we're especially have not been in school for so long, and we're coming back not knowing what to expect, and who we're talking to and things of that nature. because a lot of the people that I knew that were there when I was first in there were there, and some of them were not there. So that's always extremely, extremely helpful, because it's just as scary as it can be for a younger kid to get out of high school and go into college. A 50-year-old to look at school and it's ahead of you and what you have to do sometimes can be overwhelming also. So just something to keep in mind.
Crystal or Brandon, do you want to? You shouldn't feel like you have to, but if you want to add anything.
No, Jill hit everything on the head. I mean, she touched everything exactly the way I felt
Okay.
when I came back.
Great. So I have one more question for the panel, and then we're going to turn it over to the audience for a couple of questions. You know, I remember that when I was in graduate school, I read something that resonated with me and has stayed with me, and that was that when you're the first person in your family to earn a college degree, you not only change your life trajectory, but the life trajectory of everyone in your family who comes after you. I know that to be true personally. My mom went back to school when I was 6 months old and graduated when I was in the 3rd grade, and we went to Disney World to celebrate. So if you want to incentivize your kids to go to college, that's a good way to do it. But given that is true about that idea of changing the life trajectory of everyone who comes after you, what kind of legacy do you hope to leave for your children and your children's children and your other family members by having earned your college degree?
I'll let you go.
This isn't a surprise question.
Goodness. I'm really not a good person to answer this question simply because my son already knows the importance of education. I'm going to brag on him a little bit because he is just turned 6. He loves math. He's already adding and subtracting. He scored in the 90th percentile on his math and on the MAP testing. So he's a learner. I feel like my job is done and he's just getting started. So, but you know, he sees me doing homework. He likes to do homework, and I just try to make sure that I expose him to different things so he'll continue to want to learn.
It's great.
Okay. For my legacy, I want for my children to know, and then they can see also too, that it wasn't only just the knowledge that I received, but all the other things that I received that has helped me. Confidence, you know, commitment, because that's hard to stick it out 4 years and you're like, you want to give up, but, you know, help, you know, the community and education based is just amazing, because they're, you know, they do truly, genuinely want to help you and want you to achieve and do better in life, and I think that's what I wanted to see, that you can do better, you know, that we don't always have to just struggle, that things will get better. So I want them to always remember
That's
that.
great. Thanks, Jill. Mike?
I've got 2 of my children, aside from my wife. I've already talked quite a bit about what she's done, but my daughter, who's in school with me, of course, we're always talking about things at school and things like that, and we're comparing notes as far as grades when it gets to the end of the semester and tests and stuff. But my middle son, he's got a fantastic job with Toyota, and he's now inspired to go back to school. He originally wanted to do mechanical engineering, but when he started to see what I was doing in computer science and stuff, he always liked automation. This is something that he's been just bugging me about and asking me all kinds of questions. The other nice thing too is I can put that out there to my family. Hey, I did this on the test, this happened, or I had that. And he will be the first one to come back and say, "There, you go, Dad, this is great, fantastic." And it's great to see that you're pulling this off. And he's vocally said, "I can't wait to see you graduate." So it's good that I'm hopefully being of inspiration to them, because I want to set a good example for them as much as possible, especially my daughter and my son that wants to go back. So.
That's great. Brandon, do you want to take that one?
hopefully I leave a legacy of just being a good leader, a leader by example, and hopefully me going to college will inspire a lot of my family members to want to go, and hopefully they see that education is something that pays off and that's necessary.
That's great. So first, please join me in thanking these wonderful students. And graduates. Are there any questions from the audience? We have one right here.
Hi, everybody. My name is Nisha Brangers, and I'm with the University of Kentucky. First of all, I just wanted to sincerely congratulate you guys on your accomplishment. I think that it's the testament of the beauty of education, so congratulations on that. But can you talk to us a little bit about what your individual colleges did to kind of enhance that sense of belonging, and what those tactics were? Like as an adult learner, how they engaged you, how they interacted with you, how they made you feel like you belonged there.
I think for both of us, it was the implementation of 15K. If it wasn't for Ms. Sims Brooks, she's there, point blank period. She is a resource. If she doesn't have the answer, she will find the answer. And just being a part of that program has helped us tremendously. The program is mixed with both new students, first-time students, and adult learners, so that helps. But without that program, we probably wouldn't be sitting here.
Mine, I'd have to say the first start was Somerset, and what they did right, I'd say, is directed me in the correct path that suited me. So I say a lot of people are in the wrong jobs, and they need to be in another job, and somebody else needs in that position. Well, it's the same in school. If you start taking classes that aren't suited for you, don't even, need them or this or that, then you're going down the wrong, and it makes it so much harder. So that was that. Western was just the programs they offered. They were big on international, diversity and inclusion, and art was huge there. So, and then Eastern, when I got with Lisa Cox, and like I said, if she didn't know something, she would sure find somebody that did. And there was so many other programs there that, helped me. So that was what they did.
Northern was very good about pushing me in the correct direction and who to talk to. With Kim, she works with the adult learners there. And I really, as far as school and things in general, there was a few classes that I took, especially the astronomy class that I took as a general studies course. I actually got along very well with the instructor, and we talked about a lot, so I tend to try to get involved in some things that I could do there when I had time. So those kind of things made me feel sort of inclusive, but there were also, because my daughter being involved there, I'm involved in other stuff with her going to school there, so, which is really awesome. Outside of that, that's about it.
Yes.
Yes, I'm trying to say this question correctly. Just congratulations to you all, your great news story. I do want to focus question to Brandon. At some of the statistics, it's already been shown that I guess about 70% of the college students are female. Is that correct? Something like that?
Oh, that was from the
Or is
last
a higher
presentation.
is a higher percent of females, but when in some circles, underrepresented minorities are few in number, and
Right.
in the black male is the lowest.
Right.
So Brandon, you said you have no problems, and that's a great news story. And I just want you, if you can, I mean, nothing deep, but can you just give a little bit more of what they have done to make you feel welcome and to help you in whatever, because I think some folks that can help us in the room
Yeah.
to see if we're not doing these things, this is how you make more Brandons or more whoever needs to go along. Okay.
I mean, I think that answer is pretty simple for me, because once I first came to Jefferson, they surrounded me with people that look like me, that have similar backgrounds as me and think like I do. So, I mean, Yes, it was strategically done, I think.
So I think the folks in the room may have trouble hearing. If you could get the mic if you want to ask a question.
You mentioned a Rise Up program, and I didn't know what all that entailed and if that helped any.
Yes, so the Rise Together program is a spinoff of what Ms. Wheeler does. It's a spinoff of 55,000 Degrees. It's called 15,000 Degrees, and it's a program for African American students in the 5 Zones of Hope neighborhood in Louisville. So, yeah, so we all, have similar backgrounds, and we all look alike.
So it seems like there may, perhaps there should be an opportunity for sharing some of the best practices, and we have their incredible advisor over there who's been nodding her head vigorously as they've been speaking. So maybe you could delve a little deeper at some other time into what exactly you're doing to provide these wraparound support services that have your students say that everything has gone swimmingly, right? So maybe we can provide some time for that to happen. Do you want to say 1 or 2 things now? If we can get the mic to you very quickly, then maybe we could just have you comment, and then we can go back to the next question.
Hi, everyone. So the Rise Together program that Crystal and Brandon have talked about, economic status is super low. So those neighborhoods for black folks, I'm just going to say it, black people, it's Black History Month, it's okay. For black people, there was either little to no degree attainment where folks had started working on those degrees and didn't finish, or they hadn't started at all. And so this was a community initiative. The black community in Louisville came to the college and said, look, we want to team up and do something about this. What can we do? So this is a community and college initiative together. This is not the brainchild of the college, and I have to say that because the community has to take an invested interest in what's going on with black students all over, and it has made the world of a difference for our students. So something that the students, that Brandon and Crystal experience, is that they all get a community mentor and they get a college mentor, and they're mentored by the who's who of Black Louisville, and that makes a difference. Just today on campus we had Alwyn Hilton, who is a philanthropist and business person here in Louisville, and he spends considerable time with Brandon and with all our students, and they put their money where their mouth is. Our students have a persistence in graduation fund, so if they run up against a financial barrier, rent, car, life's emergencies, they have a fund that they can tap into to address that, that we can, pay that bill directly off. And we've paid mortgages, light bills, child care, all of those things, because we know that those are the things that keep our students from being successful. If I have to worry about my rent and I need to pick up an extra shift and that conflicts with English, I'm not going to English, I'm going to pay my rent, right? They also meet with us one-on-one, so I have a wonderful team. Ariel Snow is here. I have another team member, Indigo Cornelison, and 2 interns, and we meet with our students strategically at certain points in the semester. So we all know that first 6 weeks is critical, right? We meet with them then, and we don't want to just know about your academics. I want to know what's going on outside of school that may show up in the classroom, right? So if you're hungry, we have a wonderful hub pantry on campus that students can tap into. I'm meeting with you as often as needed, and we all get together strategically at strategic points in the semester to debrief those meetings. And we have an at-risk, what's going on, and any student that has stopped out, we're still in communication with them. We're still texting, how can we get you back? What can we do? We do enrichment trips, so it's important for students to be able to see that, you can go here and do this and you belong here. So we do cultural trips. In the next 3 weeks, we're going to Memphis. We're going to the National Civil Rights Museum. We're going to Slave Haven. We're going to a couple other places because it's important that our students can see themselves there, right? We can talk about it all day.
That's great. I know so you can talk about all day.
All day.
And we want you to be able to talk more about it because that's fantastic. Thank you. So let's connect up. And I think that the information you shared, but also the passion that you have for your work is why your students can sit here and say that they've had such an excellent experience. So thank you very much. And we're going to move on to one last question. Ray, here, Tanya.
Hi, hopefully you won't get tired of people congratulating everything that you've done. I would like to know a little bit more about how your colleges and your communities have helped you choose your careers and how that transition from college to careers has been for you, and what some of the things are that you wish you had known about before choosing your major, because earnings are very tightly connected to majors. Jill, please get that MFA. And we want to know more about how colleges can better offer career services to students enrolled.
You can each take maybe about 30 seconds to answer that question.
So for me, I think that when I chose my major, I felt like the hardest thing that I could do that would make the most money. So, I mean, I know it sounds kind of crazy, but I don't think Miss Sims had a hand on like helping people choose their majors. I think it's more like she lets you choose your major, but she kind of say, okay, what do you like to do? Does this fit what you like to do? I think we even did maybe like career assessment papers at the beginning of our first year to see, kind of where we fall in line with the degree that we chose.
Anybody else want to answer that?
For me, I kind of did it backwards. The first time I went to school, my major was accounting. So to go from accounting to nursing, a really big difference. But I was already working in the field, saw that it was something that I felt like I needed to do, I wanted to do. I enjoy helping people. I will say, being in the nursing program, a lot of students are in it for the wrong reason. They're in it because it's guaranteed, stable job, good career, money. But then when you go to the clinical site and you actually have to work and you have to, these are real people, these are real lives that you're dealing with, that mindset is completely different. So maybe if there was an opportunity to shadow or have a round table and just discuss with the students to make sure that that's something that they want to do, do a scenario or a real life situation before they have paid thousands and thousands of dollars and they're stuck in this career that they hate.
Right.
I guess I'm pretty fortunate because, like I said, Somerset led me, to the art field, and then all of Eastern Kentucky, I'm sure the whole Kentucky, but is just like heavily based art. I work in Berea now, and this was the capital of the art community. So, so the community itself of what is around me influenced me too and helps me. Now I know like a lot of colleges are, they have what they're best at, what they offer more of. Like Western was big international, and like UK, they have a really good master's. So if I do go back, I hate to say that, but I probably tend to go there. But so, and that's hard if you're wanting to do something that is close to you, and you have to stay close to home. But they don't really, it's not what they it's not like their major, thing. So that kind of makes it hard on you if you want to go in that field, but it's not by you. If they could help, with that.
Yeah, that's a good consideration.
Like that,
Yeah. And Michael, you want to bring us home?
Yeah, I'll try to elaborate a little bit. I sort of knew what I wanted to do. I knew I was interested in automation and computers and electronics. But one of the things I had thought about would be really nice for any of the schools to do, and maybe even start as in high school with it, but even when you're an adult, to be able to have a shadowing program in a business that you might be interested in and get in there. You might find out in the nursing field, oh, I don't want to deal with this, or wow, this is really great, I want to do it. Or like in the computer world, do I really want to deal with this 24/7, or do I not want to deal with it, that kind of thing. So it's not really an internship, but it's the capability to shadow somebody else in the field and learn what's behind it, and possibly even sit down with an advisor or something that would be like, somebody that would be like an advisor to, you can ask questions to. And maybe they can narrow it down to, say, 2 or 3 areas that you could go into and say, hey, I'd like to shadow this person for a couple days and see what it's like to do this. So that's about all I have.
Well, that's great. And on that note, can you join me one more time in thanking these exceptional students and graduates?
Again, thank you, Danette, Jill, Michael, Brandon, and Crystal. What a great job and what an inspiration to all of us.